Now, I don't normally do this camera thing, this face-to-face during a review or a first impression or anything like that, simply because I'm out and about riding a bike. But this week has been, let's just say, appalling. Rain, wind, absolutely diabolical. Behind me, you can't actually see it because it's too low. Let me get out of the way. There you go, I've got the CB650R. Now, I'm going to drop in a walk around for this in the video that's coming up. This video is me riding and giving you a conclusion on the bike after I've had it for a week. I went out yesterday. Luckily, there was a few hours of sunshine that I managed to find. The gods came along and blessed us with at least 3 hours of sunshine, so I did the conclusion video then. I have been riding this all week in the rain. Apart from the weather being atrocious, this bike's been pretty good. I've been quite impressed with it. I'm going to do the walk around in the garage, which I don't normally do. I shall drop that in at some point in this video. It's not the greatest walk around that I've ever done. I like to be out and about in the fresh air normally doing it, but I hope you bear with me for this one. Anyway, that's enough of me rabbiting on. I'm sure you've had enough of this mush by now. Let's crack on with the video. So what's up YouTube, welcome back to the channel once again. You know, I appreciate having you here. Now I'm out on the CB650. It hasn't rained for the last hour, 1 hour. So we're going to attempt to do a nice little ride. Well, first of all, we're going to attempt to put our gloves on like a normal human being. Right, that's achieved. So the plan today is I've put a route into this, which is the little Beeline Moto sat nav. The phone's in my pocket, it connects to this and gives me directions. So I really like this little thing, especially on bikes of 250 and above. 125 I wouldn't use it because it leads you down some dual carriageways. Even if you use the avoid highway motorway function, it still might send you down 70-mile-an-hour roads or quick roads because they're classed as A roads. So I would avoid using this on a 125, but anything above that, it's fine. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to get on with the review of this. I've had this for nearly a week now, the CB650R by Honda, and it's rained every day. We've had hurricanes, we've had rain. It literally has not stopped from the moment this bike went in the garage. I did do that first impressions ride, and that was literally the only sun I've seen in nearly a week. So we're going to go out today. I've got a little route planned, a few hours, 3 hours. I have been riding it through the week, commuting on it. I've been out and about, I've been going on it. I've tried it on the motorway, I've tried it on all different scenarios. It's just the filming has been absolutely atrocious, so I've had to scrap all that, and we're starting again. But I have got a little bit more of an insight into what I feel about this bike. So let's go for a ride. The roads are still a little bit greasy. As I said, it hasn't rained for about an hour, but it's been raining all night, and under the trees it's still a little bit slippery. And because of the wind over the last couple of days, it's blown debris onto the street. So you've got to be a little bit careful. But even so, we're going to have as much fun as we can. Hopefully the rain doesn't come down. You can see, look, this is what we got to look forward to. The route, I'm not actually 100% sure where we're going. I kind of just dropped pins in the map, and then I've hoped for the best. It looked quite nice. I put the pins in basically all the green areas on the map, so hopefully we won't be doing any off-road. Oh, this is really all over the place, this. Right, sorry about the view there. This is bouncing all over. It wasn't bouncing last time I used it. Now for some reason we got a bounce on. Next time I stop, I'm going to adjust that so you're not bouncing all over the place. So as I've said, I've been using this bike constantly for the last week, living with it, seeing what it's like for an everyday bike, for an everyday person like myself. It's good. It has some bad points and it has some good points. Now the problem I've had with the walk round is it's been raining. Everywhere I go it's raining. I don't fancy standing out in the rain walking around a bike. I tried to do it in the garage, but the wind was so much that it made the metal door, the garage door, sound like someone was beating a drum on it, so the audio was absolutely pointless. I have tried to do a walk around video 3 times so far and failed miserably on every occasion. It's just the way it's going this week, I'm afraid. Front tyre is a 120/70/17 and it's running Metzler Road Tech 01s, and I found them pretty good. Even in the wet, I haven't had too many dramas with them, but in the dry they are really quite nice and sticky. First time I think I've ridden on these tyres and they're pretty good. Brakes wise, twin discs, Nissan calipers, ABS front and rear. Moving up, we've got upside down forks that go all the way to the top. Amazing. Where your handlebars are. Oh, full of educational stuff this. Just in case you didn't realise it, this is the CB650R. Nice little touch there on the decal on these little air intakes. I think they're air intakes. Let's have a little look. Yes, the air intakes just here. Quite nice. Unfortunately, the lighting in here is not the greatest, so apologies about that. But it is hacking down with rain and I don't fancy going outside. Engine-wise, inline 4 is quite nice and torquey low down with a bit of top end rush around the 9,500 RPM mark, and it does actually pick up really nicely. Down here is one of the nicest things of this bike, and that's this exhaust. Unfortunately, again, the lighting is in the wrong position, but trust me, this 4-into-1 exhaust, especially on the headers here, looks absolutely stunning. And if you follow it back, as I said, 4-into-1, and it comes up as an underslung exhaust just there. As a standard count, it sounds really nice. I probably would change it because I have ridden one of these with an aftermarket and it sounds glorious. But as a standard, if you don't want to change it, it does look and sound quite nice. Foot pegs, just this standard metal jobby with a hero blob that's as long as my arm, I was going to say, leave it. And then you got the brake. Why that's black and that's silver, I don't know. Someone in the design board said that. But it works. It does the job of a back brake. Not the strongest I've ever used, but it does work. And the foot pegs are high enough and low enough to be quite comfortable, if that makes sense. They're not too high, not too low for this type of bike. On the rear, we've got a 180 5517 and a single disc and Nissan caliper on the back. Again, ABS. We've got a nice black swing arm on there. It's not an afterthought. It is really nice. I do like the look of it. And it comes with this little hugger on it, which has been really handy in the rain. It's stopped all the crud and crap going on this yellow spring on the back, which is just a single spring in the middle with minimal adjustment. And then if we come out, you've got the rear foot hanger there, which is just your standard metal foot hanger, but it has got this little bit on the back so you can bungee some stuff to the back seat. As you can see, it's pretty minimal up there, so every little bit will help, and you can just strap some stuff to there. It's pretty good. If you want to take them off, just a couple of bolts and you can take them off there. At the back, this monstrosity, this is hideous. I say it's hideous, but it looks quite good for what it is, if that makes sense. It is so big, but they've done a good job of doing a bit of styling with it, with the little bit of aluminium and plastic. It doesn't look too offensive. I would take that off. It does stick out quite a bit. Excuse the mess over there. I'm in the process of tidying up my garage. I don't usually film in here. Right, seat wise, it's pretty nice. The pillion seat has got this nice little grab strap here, and then underneath you've got pretty good grab handles here. You've got a lot of purchase there, quite deep, as you can see in there, and you get quite a bit of grip if you like to use those as a pillion. Can't tell you how comfortable it is because obviously I'm not a pillion. But the front seat, I found over the week, got more and more comfortable as I got used to it. I quite like it now. It's a little bit firm and small at first, but now, yeah, I like it. It suits this bike. It's comfortable for longer distances. Not pure touring for me, but longer distances. I mean, it's got a little bit of sponge in there, a little bit of give. A few tweaks for me, and that'll be okay. It took me a while to figure out how to open this, and it's this little, I don't know if you can see that, this little just thing under here. Keyhole, that's the word I'm looking for. Professional, you see. Just twist that and then drag it out like that. Just clips on with this bit here, and then latches down in here. You've got a little bit of room in there, so you can put some stuff in there. Small sandwich, but it may get a little bit wet because I can see just some water ingress under here, so it's not fully waterproof. Right, to give you an idea of how big it is, that's just a standard set of pliers, and that fits in there. Doesn't really fit that way because there's a toolkit in the way here. Width wise, just about fits. Not the greatest experiment, but it does give you an idea. Under the seat you've got your owner's manual here, and you've got these little tie down straps. I don't want to pull them because I haven't pulled them off, but they're just, I think they're just hooked on. There you go. Just unhook that. That goes out there. And then you've got extra little tie down points for your rear seat. I've just literally found it out just now. I've been running a tail pack all week with straps going underneath when I could have just strapped it to that. So there you go. These are the little things you learn. I hope that was useful. That's probably the most useful thing on this video. And then just to put it back, slide it into the two lugs, push down on the back, and then we're done. Don't forget to take the key out though. Although you won't forget if you're riding away, you might forget if you're doing something under the seat and walking away. So make sure you keep hold of this. This one's also got a data tool tracker fitted, which is nice. Right, it's quite hard to see in the garage and the angles I'm at, but the front headlight is LED. You've got that ring around the outside and the top one, which is always on, kind of like a driving light. And then if I press the full beam, the push to pass, that comes on like so. And then there's your full beam on all the time. Indicators, LED on the front and also LED on the back. Rear light is LED, that's normal light and brake light. Right, so there you go, that's your dash. It's pretty much the same as the old one. On this side you've got your gear indicator, you've got your rev counter, you've got your fuel gauge here, you've got the time, that's the last time I rode it, it was 3 hours 10 minutes. Up the top is your clock, as in your actual time. Over here you've got your speedometer, engine temperature, and then your trips down there. Around the outside, traction control light, neutral light, oil warning light and ABS light. You've also got indicator light that side and indicator light that side. And when you've got your full beams on, that shows up there. Over this side, if I use down here, you've got a couple of buttons, select and set. And then you've got your miles per gallon, which is while you're going along. You've got your average fuel consumption, which is 61.4 miles per gallon. 1.2 gallons, I think that's what I've used since I last reset it. My average is 24 miles per hour, which is shameful, but it has been raining constantly, as I said, for the past week. And then again, the time I've been riding it in the last session since I filled it up. Over this side, you've got total miles, you've got trip A, trip B, and then revs per minute. And what that does is it mimics the rev counter up here. It just tells you numerically there what it's doing. I won't start it up now because we're in the garage and I don't fancy poisoning myself. So there you go, that's the dashboard. Not that exciting, I'm afraid. They could have done better with that, but anyway. But as usual, if there's anything more you want to know, drop a line downstairs and I'll try and find out for you. I shall leave the link to Honda down there as well. So the full specification for this bike will be downstairs in the descriptions box. As you can see, this is steaming up. This crash helmet is awful. I mean, it does come with a pin lock, but one of the little tabs fell out, so I can't put the pin lock in it. And this is the first, here we go. Oh, that is the first notch. This big gap here is the first. I mean, look at, I keep tightening it up, and it rattles, this rattles. But anyway, what I've learned over the first impressions to this is I've actually grown into it, if that makes sense. The fitment of it, I find it a bit more comfortable now than when I first got on it. I found it a little bit small coming off the Africa Twin, but that's obvious and to be expected. But now I've been riding this for, I don't know, quite a few hundred miles and 5 or 6 days in a row without touching the other bikes. You kind of get used to it. You kind of get used to how thin the bars are, how thin the bike is, how kind of compact it is. As you know, if you watched the first video, I'm 6'2", 17.5 stone, long in the leg, wide in the shoulders, all that sort of stuff. But you know that I'm not going to convert it in this video. Go back to the original if you want the conversion for that. It just goes to show that on a small test ride or a day test ride, that you don't fully appreciate how you get on with a bike. I can give you a first impression, but I can't give you what it's like to live with. Now I can. Now I've had this for a week, although it's been horrendous weather, at least I can give you a little video of what it's like to live with in horrendous weather in the UK. As I said, the seat is very comfortable now. It was a little bit hard when I first got on it, but I really got used to it. But what I have noticed with seats, and this is general across the board, is they vary in comfort as into what you're wearing. I've got full winter gear on at the moment. I know it's the end of May coming into June, but I've still got full winter gear on. It's about 11 degrees today. And that with the lining makes it a little bit more padded, so they're more comfortable. And I have ridden this in my road jeans for about 10 minutes and it feels a lot more firm when I'm wearing those. So it is a thing to consider what you wear when you're on the bike. If you wear kind of this fabric adventure stuff with the lining in, it's going to be a little bit more padding than if you just wear, say, leather jeans or denim jeans, the Kevlar type. So that's a little thing to bear in mind. The handlebars, width-wise, I really like it now. At first I thought they were a little bit too small, as in too thin, but you soon get used to it. I have to pull it over a little bit or counter steer it a bit more, but it's really intuitive and you really do get used to it. As I said, on a first impression, it is going from a wide bar to a small bar, and you always think, oh, hold on a minute, I'm not sure about this. You get that on everything with bikes. When you swap tyres for the first time, you do the same thing. If you swap seats, you do the same thing. It's initially what you get used to, and then as soon as you get onto something else, it all feels a little bit alien. I like the way my knees are tucked into the tank, where you can use your knees, you can grip and you can really pull it around using your knees as well. That's a nice little, I was going to say a nice little touch, but a lot of bikes do that. They have petrol tanks. Sometimes I amuse myself. You've got plenty of room for the knees. Now sometimes with bikes, because I've got long legs, my knees sit up on the ridge and it makes it a little bit uncomfortable here, but not on this. There's plenty of room for the knees. Right, as soon as I'm sitting here, this is the same spot I went about the VFR having delicious paint. When I test rode the VFR 800, I kind of stroked it, said the paint was delicious. And this, I'm not sure, the jury's out for me on this paint scheme. I kind of like it and kind of don't. In the garage under LED lights, it's really, really nice. It's got a little metallic fleck in it. But when you're out on dull days, it actually looks quite dull, but each to their own. That's the beauty of bikes, they come in different colours. Would I get it in this colour? No. I know that's nitpicking, but it's just the way I'm feeling, okay? It's just the way I'm feeling. Right, since we went over that train track, this, you will feel the bumps on this. It's very, what's the word? It's weird at low speed on a really bad road. You feel every little bump. Whether that's to do with the tyres and the suspension combination, I don't know. Could be one, could be t'other. It is, I'd say, a little bit tiring, especially because of all the injuries I've got. I notice more probably than the average man because of the injuries I've got. So I feel pain through the shoulders where they're all held together with bits of wire and metal. So I've noticed that on slower speeds that it can get a little bit, what's the word, you feel it through your arms and your shoulders. Not horrendous as in I wouldn't buy the bike, but you certainly notice it. The suspension's not plush as in you've got a pure soft magic carpet ride. Now here's where the suspension comes into its own. When you go a little bit faster, it smooths the bumps out. Because you're gliding across them at a little bit of a better speed, it feels nicer. So it's a weird one where if you're going slow, poodling through traffic on a really horrible road, you will notice the bumps, the dips, the indentations. But once you get up to normal speeds, road riding speeds like this, you don't really feel it that much. The wind noise is to be expected. It's a naked bike and you get a lot in your face, and it is quite a windy day, horrible, cold. You're going to get some of that, and that hasn't changed over the week. I have got used to it. So it's not turbulent, it's just pure wind. And in a way, it does take the weight off your wrists a little bit because it pushes you slightly back. It does tip in really, really nice. It's so easy to tip in. It feels really light and responsive. And it does sound good as well. Standard can on this sounds glorious. Yeah, it's not bad. As I said, roads are a bit greasy, but traction control is not intrusive. It doesn't kick in when you don't need it. When it's really bad, really greasy, under these little country lanes where the leaves are in the middle, and yeah, it's a bit sketchy, the traction control is a welcome addition. It is a nice simple system. It's just a one-button jobby. Hold it for off and hold it for on. Simples, as they say on certain adverts. Yeah, while we're talking about handling, it is really, really nice. I do like the handling of this bike, and these tyres, they are pretty grippy, especially in the dry. Well, I say in the dry, the small moments where we had some dry, they were very, very grippy. But even in the kind of sketchy scenario we're in now, I've had no real dramas with them, especially with the front. Hasn't felt like it wanted to wash out at any point. And that hasn't changed over the week since I've had this. And I've ridden in some really sketchy conditions this week. It's a shame I couldn't really record them. It actually ruined one of my GoPros. So yeah, that wasn't pleasant, or I should have say that was very expensive. It kind of waterlogged it. There was so much water, the water got in. Not only did it ruin the GoPro, but it ruined the SD card and corrupted everything on it. So that was all bin. So it's not all glorious, this motovlogging. It costs money, you know. Yeah, on these sketchy little back roads, it does handle really nice. And what really helps is this slipper clutch. You don't have to blip the throttle on the downshift. You can just downshift it and it won't lock that back wheel up, which is really, really handy, especially as conditions get worse. The worse they are, the more gadgets you like. But yeah, probably not the ideal route for this bike on this day. But if I stick to the main big roads, big A roads, do you really get an impression of what it's like? All bikes 650 should do those sort of roads, fast sweepers. This will do fast sweeping roads, no problems whatsoever. Trust me, it's beautiful on smooth tarmac round bends. Feels really, really nice. A little bit buzzy, but it's an inline 4 and you've got to expect that. Again, that's horses for courses, each to their own, as they say. Some people might find that annoying, some people won't. I didn't. I just knew it was there, but I didn't find it annoying at all. But as I've said on many of these videos, I like riding the roads that I like to ride. So apologies if these are not the roads you want to see. Tough. Engine wise, it's still really nice and torquey low down for an inline 4 650. Handles these little back roads, these little cruising roads fantastically. I'm in fourth now and I haven't changed for ages, just cruising around. You could drop it down to around 2,000 revs and it'll still pull from down there, 1,500, 2,000. Not electrically, but it will pull, it won't chug. That's what I'm trying to get at. Oh, it is beautiful to be out in the English countryside. Absolutely wonderful. Even when the roads are sketchy, it's lovely to be out. When I say sketchy, I really mean it. Right, where are we now? We're second gear, nothing behind me. It is very sketchy. I'm not going to boot it, but let's go down to, let's roll. Second gear, 1,000 revs. We're just rolling on the throttle, as in the power of the throttle, the tick over. Then you accelerate. And it picks up really, really nicely. I didn't bang the throttle open then because it would have spun the back wheel at some point, not initially, but it would have spun the back wheel. So it's a nice little route on this B-line moto, B-moto, whatever it's called. I can never remember. It's B something, and I only remember that because it's black and yellow, so it's the colour of a bee. As you can tell, I'm a little bit of a short shifter. I've got to get out of the habit of that on these inline 4s because I love singles and twins so much. That's bikes we're talking about, by the way, although you never know. But I short shift by nature because I'm used to the torque low down and then kicking it up a gear, whereas on the inline 4s you've really got to let them rev out. So I've got to get used to that, and I have got a little bit better over the past week, and I did when I had my CB650R. I got used to revving it out a bit more. The problem with the CB650R is every time I revved it out I was getting myself into trouble. But even with the short shift, it's still got a nice little bit of torque down there. You don't feel like you're struggling for the gear. Yeah, on these smooth country lanes, it's absolutely beautiful. Got to watch the gravel in the road though. This is what we're dealing with. Look at this. Awful. But all adds to the fun. It is very greasy and slippery. The problem with cars coming the other way is they force you into the rubbish on the side of the road. And a few trees down overnight in the storms. You can see on roads like this where the water's run the mud down the middle. This would have been like a waterfall over the last few days. So I've got to be a little bit careful, don't rely on the front wheel too much. But this has got ABS front and rear, and it's pretty good. Again, doesn't kick in too soon, just kicks in when you need it, gives you that little bit of help. And that's one of the things I'd always have on a bike now, ABS, especially on the front, or minimum I should say on the front, because you never know when you're going to need it. Especially when you're commuting in London. Well, it doesn't have to be London, it could be anywhere, but in London a lot of people just pull out in front of you at the last moment. So a little bit of ABS on the front is absolutely brilliant. And the brakes on this are really, really good. I like them, they're progressive, they feel nice to the touch, not as in touching the discs, that would be weird, but as in through the levers and through the foot peg. Right, over the week what I've learned is I probably wouldn't buy this bike as an only bike. I love it, I really do like it, but as an only bike it's a little bit too small for me, too cramped in the sense that I couldn't ride this all day, every day. I couldn't do a tour on this. I mean, you can do a tour on it. I personally couldn't. I would be too cramped up. I wouldn't and get on with it. It's got not really a lot of space for luggage. So I'd have this for fun, playing, commuting. If you do shorter journeys and you commute, just weekend sort of thing, fun, maybe a night out, 100, 200 miles away, it'd be fine. But I wouldn't do a long tour on it. Just me, because of the size of me, my injuries and the way it is. There's nothing wrong with the bike, it's just for me, my personal opinion, I'd rather have something a little bit bigger. It's a shame they don't make a more upright version bike with this engine in, you know, like BMW do. They do it with the XR1000, the XR900, especially the XR1000 is based on the inline 4. They put this in an adventure style. I'm not saying the adventure bike, still keep the 17-inch wheels but make it a little bit higher, a little bit more upright touring, make it a sports tourer, create the category adventure sports tourer and then stick this engine in. It'll be lovely, because riding around on roads like this, to be upright with a little bit of fairing, a nice screen and the pegs just a little bit lower, more comfortable seat, it'll be really nice, because this engine is a peach, absolute peach. And I might have mentioned it, it sounds glorious. There's so much traffic out today, it's unreal, it's horrible. But at least, touch wood, not the crash helmet, that's not made of wood, what's inside, that it's remained dry so far. It's cold, my legs are so cold. There's not a lot of heat coming off of this engine. I can't feel any, to be precise. Sometimes on bikes you can feel the engine runs really hot, but this doesn't. The temperature gauge is running at 3/4, one blob off the top when it comes to heat, but I can't feel any heat being dispersed into my shins or on my legs. So in jeans in the summer this should be pretty nice. So I'm just sitting here, 6th gear, 2,500, 3,000 revs, going uphill, cruising, sitting at the speed which is 40, which is the speed of this road, not chugging, lovely, beautiful, smooth, feels a nice place to be on this bike. Lovely views, this one as well, and yeah, beautiful. I'll tell you what this bike is missing, and that's a quick shifter. I've ridden this with the quick shifter. I believe it's just an upshift quick shifter. That's hard to say, but it was really, really nice. It was so much nicer than pulling the clutch in. It's just laziness, isn't it? It really suited this bike, and it made it hustle just a little bit quicker. Just you felt a little bit more sporty. I don't know what it is about a quick shifter. It makes you feel a little bit more racy. You don't have to use it like that, but it just gives you a little bit more of a buzz when you're riding a bike like this. Just bang, bang, bang up the gearbox. Absolutely wonderful. The gearbox is nice. At first I found it a little bit notchy, but I've got used to it, especially between first, second and third. Maybe because it hasn't done a lot of miles, or I don't know who's ridden this before me, so I don't know how it's been run in. But I felt it was a little bit notchy. I've actually got used to it a lot now. It doesn't feel half as bad as it did when I got on it. It still is a little bit notchy. You can feel you've got to force it a little bit, but it's not bad. You know when it's in gear, you really know when it's in gear. It just clicks in gear nicely. If I would have known it was going to be like this today, not so rainy, I would have put the dark visor on. At least that way I would have looked a little bit cooler. Look into my eyes. Yeah, the more I ride this bike, the more I really like it. And the best thing about it is its playful nature. It's not scary, it's not intimidating. It's just pure fun. It's not slow. It's not slow. I'll say this is more of a jolly up motovlog type of review. This bike is really rewarding when you ride it smooth, when you go from one corner to the next and you keep it smooth. You don't hammer between the bends and you don't hammer onto the brakes when you come into the bends. So you don't just blast it in, hammer on the brakes, blast it out. I mean, that's fun, don't get me wrong, a hell of a lot of fun. But for me, I love it when it's really smooth, just flowing. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Well done, you little 650. I don't know why I went Australian then. Well done, you little 650. Let's go riding. Apologies to any Australians out there. That one was for you, Big Bike Adventures. I sound just like you. I'm like a natural impersonator. Clutch is nice and light. As I said in first impressions, not adjustable for span, which is a shame. I don't know why all bikes aren't adjustable for span. I know it's a little bit of cost saving, but I've only got little hands. My hands are mediums, and I'm a big guy. And when I say mediums, I don't mean they can contact the dead. I mean as in size, between large and small. So I've got pretty smallish hands for a big guy, and it's not a massive reach, but it's a little bit of a reach. You get used to it because on most bikes it's pretty similar, but if you have got really small hands, you might find that a little bit of a struggle. But you can get aftermarket clutch levers which are adjustable, so it's not the end of the world. If you do get on a bike and you find the clutch or the brake lever is too far away for your hand span, then you can look online and see if they do aftermarket stuff for it, so you can change the span to make it more comfortable for you. So don't let that put you off a bike. As I said, very easy to filter on this bike. Beautifully balanced, nice and easy. Clutch gives you good clutch control. Well, your hand gives you the clutch control, but it's not bitey. It's really smooth. A bit like myself on a night out. I have missed riding a clutchy bike. And by that I mean a bike with a clutch. Dashboard, I've gone off it. It just feels old and dated. It feels like you've got a phone on the front, but not a good phone. I liked it at first, as in when I first did the first impression, that's a lot to say, on the CB650R a few years ago, but now, nah, it's a bit dated. It's got all the information on there you need, it's got everything you want. Personal opinion, but not for me. Here you go, beautiful brick wall for you guys. One on the right, a nice old one on the left as well. Got a bit of sun. Let's head down one of my favourite little country lanes. Have a little bit of a play before we end this video. Yeah, the clouds are that way, so I'm going to head that way. You can see it's a little bit greasy, but let's have a last little bit of fun. Very sketchy. There's all sorts of little twigs and leaves in the road as well. It is very, very bumpy down here. And as I said, the faster you go, the kind of smoother it is. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. Little bit of a wake-up road, that one. Keeps you on your toes. That's where it's handy having a slim bike. And not so handy being wide in the shoulders. Took one for the team. Right, so there you have it, the Honda CB650R. Would I have one in my garage? I said when this bike first came out I would 100%, or at least I think I did, if I remember correctly. Now, I don't know, I've kind of changed my mind. And it's not the fault of this bike, it's the fault of the CB1000R that I owned. Because I owned that for 6 months and it wasn't for me, this is kind of in a similar vein, except I would own this now as an everyday bike over the CB1000R, as an everyday bike. Not as a fun bike, not as a Sunday bike, but as an everyday bike. But I would not have it as an only bike. Now, I know it's a great bike. It really, really is a good bike. And for people out there, yes, you can go touring on it, you can do basically anything on any bike except off-road. I won't bother going off-road on it, but each to their own. I know someone that has been off-road on a CBR 600. Well, I know 2 people that have put knobbies on a CBR 600, so it is possible, but I wouldn't suggest it. You need quite a bit of skill. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Would I have it? Would I not have it? Yes, I'd have it as a second bike for fun, maybe a little bit of commuting, but fun at the weekends, because I really like its playful nature. It makes you feel alive when it's on song. It's nice and easy to handle. It's really light, neutral. It all feels like it's doing what it's supposed to do. Gives you really, really good feedback, and I like that. It's just that long distance touring. I prefer a fairing and a little bit more protection if I'm going to have an only bike. Right, so let's wrap this one up. Once again, thank you very much to Honda Motorcycles UK for giving me this bike for the week. Really appreciate it. The sun came out at the start and the sun has come out at the finish. But unfortunately, all the middle bit has been rain. Hopefully the next one, the next bike I get will be sunshine all the way through. Fingers crossed. I don't know what the next bike will be from Honda or from other manufacturers. I'm not quite sure, so make sure you stick with the channel. Make sure you head over to my Instagram, go follow me on there, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Facebook, although I don't really use Facebook that much. It's for old people, and I'm not old, you see. I may look old, but mentally I'm still very, very young, as you might be able to tell. Beautiful. Anyway, where were we? Yeah, we were doing the social media thing. On the YouTube side of things, which is the one you're watching it on now, don't forget to subscribe, to like, to share, and do all those things that you need to do. Also, make sure you hit that notification bell so you guys can get a drop on the videos. I shall see you on the next one. You know I love you all. Stay safe. Fish out.
Get on your base. your stuff around. I never did you wrong, but you did me wrong. So go ahead, get gone. Get all your bags, get out my house. I don't want your stuff around. I never did you wrong, but you did me wrong. So go ahead and get gone.